Story 1. The moment the commercials came on the television and you had about 30 seconds to run to the bathroom before your siblings yelled at you, "It's on." And you had to hurry back to the television to not miss a second of the show. Story 2. Being able to go around town and do their own activities after school without being reachable and it not being a concern. Story 3. Children today will never experience being truly disconnected. They will never know the kind of boredom that forced them to get creative, daydream, or simply sit with their thoughts. That boredom encouraged creativity and motivated people to go out and do things. Story 4. Hanging out with friends unsupervised and without a way to be contacted from sunrise to sunset. Not having the option to retreat to an online world. Story 5. Their dad accidentally recorded Naked Gun over their favorite movie, The Never-Ending Story, because the VHS was not labeled and he thought it was empty. Then, they drove together to every store in town hoping to find The Never-Ending Story on VHS because he felt bad. They were unable to find it and waited 3 months until it aired on TV so their dad could record it for them once again. Story 6. Being bored enough to see what the oldest penny they have is. Writing a thank you letter in cursive for a birthday gift. Having to go to a store to rent a movie. Cranking the car window down until the air conditioning started working. Rewinding a VHS tape. Not being able to use the phone and internet at the same time, and having to take all your calls in front of whoever was around. Not always knowing the time when you were out riding your bike or at a friend's house. You just returned home when it felt right. Story 7. Calling your friend's house and awkwardly talking to their mother first before they hand over the landline. Story 8. Sitting by the radio for hours with a blank cassette tape, waiting for your favorite song to come on so you could hit record at the perfect moment. And the pure rage when the disc jockey would start talking over the intro or the outro and ruin your perfect recording. Story 9. Calling your friend's house and having to talk to their parents first. That little moment of anxiety when you politely ask, "Hi, Mrs. Smith, is Michael home?" And then make small talk while waiting for your friend to pick up the phone in another room. Story 10. Calling your crush's house and hoping they pick up the phone instead of their mother, brother, father, or sister. Story 11. Lack of television choices when you were young, especially cartoons. If we were lucky, we had 4 or 5 hours of cartoons on Saturday. Kids today have television 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Sunday morning television today offers limitless choices. When I was young, it was either church on television or public affairs programs. There was no such thing as FM radio until the mid-1970s. I'm not sure if Beaker Street is still available, but that was on AM radio late Saturday night into Sunday morning. Swanson TV dinners in the foil pan. Did they even make those anymore? I know there are meals that resemble TV dinners, but they are something you can just heat in the microwave. It is unclear if Dr. Demento is still available. It was certainly something to look forward to when I was young. Real Coca-Cola was different. I'm not sure what that is now. New Coke, old Coke, whatever the flavor was, it was ruined and never recreated. Story 12. The feeling of walking into a Blockbuster or local video store on a Friday night. The specific smell of plastic cases and popcorn. The excitement of browsing the aisles. The disappointment when the new release you wanted was already rented out. And the frantic negotiation with your family over what to get instead. Then the dread of having to rewind it and bring it back on time. Story 13. Looking through the Argos catalog with a pen and putting an asterisk next to every item you want for Christmas. Story 14. Smallpox, Black Plague, and woolly mammoths. I tried to think of unethical or unhealthy things I experienced as a child, but then I realized that the same problems still occur in some part of our world. Story 15. Summer reruns. The dreaded television screen with "To be continued," the national anthem playing at the end of the broadcast day. Story 16. Going to the mall all day with your friends, with no smartphones because they did not exist yet, and your mom just says, "Be at the main entrance at 5 p.m., before driving off to do her own activities, trusting that you will be all right and have fun. Story 17. Pure boredom. Backseat of the car for a 3-hour ride to some relative's house, no phone, no tablet, no screen at all. Headphones with a CD player or MP3 if you were lucky. Otherwise, It was whatever parents had on the radio. Story 18. The satisfying sound of dialing a rotary telephone and then wrapping the cord around your finger while you talked. Story 19. Physically hanging up the telephone. I wonder if most people even understand where that phrase originates from. Story 20. Playing old games outside like lightning bolt, elastic band, hide and seek, thief and police, and water bombs in the summer was fun. Nowadays, there is so much technology and many screens which I do not see as bad at all. I think the current technological advances are great. However, many children have cell phones or tablets. In any case, today's security is complicated, at least here in Argentina. Story 21. Playing fighting games in an arcade. You are in junior high or high school. You rode your bike after school with your friends to the arcade at the rundown bowling alley. The bowling alleys themselves are barren. The owner hates the arcade machines because the controls keep breaking but cannot afford to remove them. You huddle around the Street Fighter II machine, placing your quarter at the end of a small line of quarters on the machine. The Chinese restaurant waiter on his break, who can perform lightning-fast shoryukens, is the next challenger. After that is the shady kid from the other high school who may or may not be affiliated with a gang. The current defender is the preppy young adult from the local community college. His girlfriend trying not to be bored standing several feet away. The whole place reeks of rental bowling shoes, body odor, and cigarette ash heaven. Story 22. The crushing disappointment of shopping at Kids R Us. It was right next to Toys R Us. The toys were only a wall away. But no. Mom said we were there to buy clothes. Story 23. Waiting by the radio with a blank cassette tape, finger hovering over the record button, just to catch your favorite song without the disc jockey talking over the intro. If they did talk, start over. That was the original music streaming hustle. Story 24. Showing up at friends' houses completely unannounced to see if they were free to hang out was normal and quite common for us 1990s kids. However, today this behavior might be seen as presumptuous at best and completely irrational at worst. Story 25. Going out to play and roaming the neighborhood until you heard your mother screaming your name from the back porch. Story 26. Memorizing phone numbers and keeping a few quarters handy to use a payphone. Using a card catalog and microfiche machine at the library. Waiting 6 to 9 months for your favorite movie to come to cable or VHS. Reading lyrics on the back of vinyl records or the folded inserts of cassette tapes. Setting the VCR to record episodes of your favorite television shows. Story 27. Wow, from a 1950s kid. No satellites overhead. Going to a library to use an encyclopedia and having to use a card catalog to find a book. Your parents letting you out until dark without worrying. Buddies coming into the house after school without knocking and calling their home to ask to stay for supper. Cleaning blackboard erasers to help the teacher. Penny candies. Soon what pennies or even cash look like. Metal roller skates with a key. Making things like hats, roll-up swords, paper boats, or snappers out of yesterday's newspapers. Or even reading newspapers in the comics, especially weekend color comics. Various marble games in the schoolyard or yo-yo tricks. Bike racks. Cathode ray tube displays for televisions or early computers. Pagers. Street hockey. 10-cent chocolate bars. 10-cent comics. Glass milk containers. Cap guns. Super balls. Spinning tops. Seeing manual transmissions and roll-up windows in cars. Old-fashioned monkey bars, teeter-totters, and metal slides. Homemade kites. Mended clothes. Pen pals and stamp collecting. Telephone books, yellow pages. Calling a theater to get showtimes. Christmas catalogs. Empty channels on television with the snow and noise they make. See an HBO introduction for children. A first autonomous sensory meridian response. Owning a book for school called a dictionary. A floppy disk, its silhouette now called a save icon. There was only one sweetener called sugar. Story 28. Screech, jug 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 jug. Doing, Kale W. If you are old enough, you know. Also, having to be punctual because you could not call and say, I am running 10 minutes late. Story 29. walking with a compact disc player that has your favorite mix on it and having it skip constantly as you walk home. Story 30. Patience. If my friend and I arranged to meet at McDonald's at 1 p.m. and happened to be running late, I would just have to wait until she arrived. No texting, "Where are you?" at 1:02 p.m. Wait patiently. Story 31. The exquisite joy of a game cartridge not working and having to blow into it and the game console game slot, and it working after one try. Ah, sweet relief. Story 32. The PSHHHHKRRRSHHHHH sound that your dial-up modem made. It's crazy how I was probably 8 years old and I still distinctly remember that sound. Story 33. Waiting for your favorite song to come on the radio so you can record it. Then doing this for an entire mixtape, having to rewind and record songs that get interrupted by annoying chatty disc jockeys. Then doing this on VHS for your favorite shows, rewinding the tape and hitting record just as the commercial ends so your recording skips all the commercials. Faxes. Payphones. Learning directions with a map. The importance of having quarters for laundry, soda, snack machines, arcades, payphones, and more. Smoking on an airplane. The ubiquity of ashtrays in general. It is insane to think about today. Most of all, the sense of connection created by having only a few sources of public entertainment. For all the terrible things that can be said about old media, there was a simplicity when everyone knew the same movies, TV shows, songs on the radio, or books that had been published. You did not have to like them all, but it was a lot easier to at least be aware of what was going on. Now, I will be lucky if a friend has heard of one of the YouTube channels I watch. They often have not. Story 34. Seasons will change soon. Food security is a concern. We are witnessing wildlife that will become extinct due to climate change. I feel tired of constantly being bombarded by the commercialization of every experience. I am weary now. Story 35. Having to find a public telephone. Hitchhiking on the highway. That slowly fading dot on the television after turning it off. Story 36. Televisions and personal computer monitors that occupy the entire depth of your desk or television stand are difficult to move from one home to another, even though the actual screen size was small, like less than 17 inches for monitors and less than 30 inches for televisions. It still blows my mind that in just 2 decades I advanced from that situation to having a pair of 32-inch 4K monitors that are thin and light enough to hang off Video Electronics Standards Association mounting arms. Story 37. A live internet, hiding under the covers with your Nintendo DS hoping your mom will not see the light through it. Hard video games that were not marketed as being hard. I see a lot of people saying live without smartphone, but if you went outside yourself and touched some grass, you'd see that outside of large cities, that is in fact not true. Story 38. Movies on cable where you only had commercial breaks to run to the bathroom, get water or extra snacks, and then rush back when someone says the movie is back on, diving back into the pillow fort you built with your parents and siblings. Total adrenaline rush. Story 39. A job that allows them to gain experience immediately after college. Ever since the recession of 2008, employers have expected candidates to have experience. Story 40. I don't have children, and none of my close friends have them, so I don't know. However, I feel like children nowadays don't spend hours outside in the wild until dark, completely disconnected from their home and parents. I was one of those children who lived in a rural area, and our parents, along with some of my neighbors' parents, would send us outside and tell us not to come back until dark. I know that sounds like something from the 1950s, but it was true in the 1990s. I can't imagine that still happens today. Story 41. When the television would shut down at midnight, all you saw on the television were colorful vertical lines and a humming sound. Also, all the times you heard, "This is a test of the emergency alert system. This is only a test. In the event of an actual emergency." Then when the September 11th attacks happened, where was this emergency alert system? Story 42. Having to sit on the floor in front of the television so you can change the channels. Rolling cigarettes for your father. Going to the store at 6 years old and being able to buy cigarettes because you have a note from your father. Riding your bike until you find a pile of bicycles, which indicates where everyone is. Story 43. The fear of being thrown into a pool at a friend's house. Back then, you only had to worry about your wallet getting wet. Story 44. Navigating for your older relative who is driving the car using a city map, and they get angry with you if you do not see it in time. Story 45. The true freedom is when you leave the house alone on your bike, and you hear your mom say to be back before the streetlights turn on. Story 46. Locking the keys in the car and getting the hanger wire through at the top of the car window, then angling it down until the hooked end grabbed the top of the door lock pull. That click when you finally tugged it open. Kids today will never know that moment of triumph. Story 47. A sense of community in their area. When I was a teenager, my town held community events like parades, fairs, and get-togethers. Now, we do not do it anymore, at least in my area. It is unfortunate because it was a nice way to meet new people. Almost everyone in the town would attend those events. Story 48. The pain of the dial-up internet era and 56 kilobits per second modems. Mom wants to call? Download dead. Mom expects a call? You are not getting online for a while. Line drops in the middle of the night? Restart the 50 megabyte download in the morning and hope it keeps running. Nowadays, with fiber, you download 100 gigabytes, which is 3,000 times as much in the time it takes to have a coffee. Story 49. True relaxation. Children today are constantly immersed in the world of their mobile devices, and they worry so much about what happens on social media that they never take the time to step completely away from it and be creative or mindful. Story 50. I was born in the late 1980s, so I am from one of the last generations that experienced a truly disconnected childhood. Even if you force kids these days to turn off the console or the personal computer and go outside, there is no one out there now. I went for a walk around the fields near my parents' house where we all used to play as children, and all the old places are just wild and overgrown now. You can tell nobody has set foot in those little hideouts and dens for decades. Story 51. Making potions with random things you find around the house, convinced it will turn you into a mermaid. This might be an original experience. Story 52. Kids today will never know the anxiety of messing up a mixed compact disc that took hours to burn. One wrong track at the end and it becomes unusable. Story 53. Taking care of digital versatile discs. When I was little, I took care of my digital versatile discs because I knew that if they were damaged, I would not be able to watch my movies. Also, with the piracy of digital versatile disc movies, sometimes you could hear people from the cinema or noises from where they recorded the movie and uploaded it illegally. Story 54. Teachers and adults did not really understand electronic devices and the internet. Being a kid in the 1990s and 2000s meant having magic powers and secret codes that grown-ups could not comprehend. It was a unique moment in technological literacy that the previous and next generations could not relate to. Sure, kids today probably know many tricks with social media and chat generative pre-trained transformer that I do not, but once I learn about them, I understand them. Meanwhile, my teachers could not quite grasp what PictoChat on the Nintendo DS was. Story 55. When shopping malls used to be fun, has anyone seen those videos where people show how malls are now basically just empty? Story 56. The existential fear of accidentally pressing the internet button on your flip phone because it meant bankruptcy. Or burning a perfect 12-song mix CD only to realize track 9 was corrupted. Story 57. Blowing on game cartridges. The exhilarating sound of a door opening to signify a login on AOL Instant Messenger. Local area network parties. Gaia Online when it actually had literate active role players. Masturbating to JCPenney catalogs, or so I have been told. Story 58. The wonderfully delicious taste of the chocolate soldier drink that used to come in glass bottles. Yoo-hoo just does not measure up to the original. Story 59. I am 26 years old and I feel like an old man when children do not know that game discs were a thing and something your brother could break in half. Story 60. Picking up the landline, listening to parents or siblings' phone calls, and then chiming in at the perfect time. Story 61. Going to a video store to see if they can fix your video home system copy of Scooby-Doo meets Batman because you watched it too much and the tape ended up exploding out of the actual shell. Story 62. Blowing into a game cartridge to make it work, then hoping the console starts. Essentially, using breath to fix technology. Story 63. Running to your friend's house after school to ask if they want to play without giving them a heads up. Story 64, having to be in front of a television at specific times for certain shows, and the frustrations of video home system recording. Story 65, we could play pranks without even having evidence today and nobody filming what we did in the past. Story 66, being disconnected from the world and having to make your own fun outside. Running around in the woods, climbing trees, playing with sticks, digging holes, playing with bugs, riding bikes for miles with no one knowing where you were. It was all normal in the 1980s and 1990s. Just go outside, make an adventure, and try not to get hurt or end up missing. That was real life. Story 67. Going to the shops with 3 of your friends and sharing $1 worth of chips coated in salt and vinegar. Story 68. What it was like when you had to wait to hear news, usually lunch at 12 p.m., evening at 6 p.m., and late at 11 p.m., and unless you had a video cassette recorder to record it, you could not make a playlist on YouTube to binge whenever. The 24-hour news cycle is crazy making. Story 69. Having your life dictated by the television schedule controlled when you went out, when you came back, and what time you had dinner. No one wanted to miss anything back then, and everything was planned around it. Television culture in general involved talking at school all week about the last episode of something and then being excited about the next episode, knowing you would all be watching it at the same time. You would look forward to the next day at school to talk about what you had watched. Spoilers were not really a concern back then, except maybe if you were going to see a movie a day or two after everyone else. Story 70. Too many. Kids today will not know the struggle of having to rewind a movie before returning it to the rental store, or the satisfying whirring sound of a VHS player at work, or busy signals and payphones, sometimes waiting for someone to get off the phone line, or digging for coins to make a call from a payphone, is basically ancient history. They are missing out on the slower, more physical parts of life that technology has replaced. Story 71. Having writing lessons and getting beaten across the back of your hand with a wooden ruler if you make a mistake. Then you have to try again. If you defend yourself verbally, you are called obstinate and get beaten on the seat of your pants with a thin bamboo rod in front of the class or verbally humiliated while the teacher makes the class laugh at you. Story 72. I am sure some children will still experience this, but it will be rare. The feeling of be home before it is dark, and then that is it. No phone for your parents to contact you to come home. Just complete freedom with you and your friends. Story 73. Programming the video cassette recorder to record late-night softcore adult content on Showtime, then grabbing the tape first thing in the morning so you do not get caught. Story 74. Getting up to answer the phone or change the television station to one of the other 5 channels available. Story 75. Definitely the leadership of Kim Jong-il and Kim Il-sung in North Korea. All of their childhoods will be defined by Kim Jong-un's leadership, as he is not going to die anytime soon. He is 41 years old. However, there might be some people who are mentally children that were born when Kim Jong-il or Kim Il-sung was ruling the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. Story 76. When you have an extracurricular activity, you ask your mother to record your cartoon show on videotape by telling her the exact time it starts. Then, when you come back home, you rewind the tape and watch the show, commercials and all. Sometimes, your mother might press the wrong button and forget to rewind, so you miss the entire episode. I did this for Digimon Season 1. Story 77. Parents had no idea where you were and did not care, as long as they knew you were with your friends. We were riding buses to see where they ended, hanging out at the river and trying to walk across it when it was frozen or not completely frozen, exploring the inside of the storm sewer system for miles, raiding vegetable gardens, conducting seances in old abandoned farm buildings, hanging out on the mall roof or inside the mall, fishing coins out of fountains to buy candy. Story 78. The one telephone, most likely avocado or mustard yellow, on the kitchen wall rings, and we all run toward it, yelling, "I'll get it!" Story 79. Hardcover dictionaries. We were taught to flip through the top right corner of the page to find the correct place to look for the word we were searching for. Also, the smell of actual books. We used to make book covers for our textbooks out of anything. The Sunday comics, gift wrapping paper, and my personal favorite, brown paper from a grocery bag. Story 80. Burning a compact disc for your crush and decorating it with gel pens. If they did not like your playlist, it was over. Story 81. Going to a foreign country for the first time and having absolutely no contact with home for however long you were there because a phone call home was hard to do and too expensive, and the internet did not exist. There are many other things that fall under just generally being disconnected when you are physically at a certain place. Story 82. Having to burn your own compact discs if you want music in the car that is not from the radio. I made so many compact discs throughout the years. Story 83. Being out all day with no contact with our parents or caregivers. Walking into random children in the neighborhood houses. Story 84. The whole consumer experience of buying albums. Music television, black entertainment television, video hits one, the magazines and documentaries, the movie soundtracks. The built-up buzz in anticipation of the next release and having to physically go to your record store to buy the album. If you wanted badly enough, some stores were open at midnight Tuesday morning. Parking lots full of people either waiting to buy or blasting the album. Social media is popular, but television is still king when it comes to visibility. Story 85. The specific anxiety of having to print out 10 pages of directions before a road trip, and the sheer terror when you realize you missed a turn and pages 4 through 10 are now useless. Story 86. Sad answer. Where I am, it is starting to become snow days. I live in a different area than where I grew up, but now that Zoom and other tools are online, a few schools have an alternate plan. If a weather incident causes the school to close because it is unsafe to travel for a few days, but utilities like power are working for most people, they expect students to continue lessons online at home. When I was in school, there was none of that. If school was closed, it was closed. Story 87. Life without the phone. It might be me seeing it all through rose-colored glasses, but things were so much better back then. Festivals, travels, family visits, games, and friends felt different. We didn't pull out a phone every second to capture the moment instead of living in it first. Women of natural, earthy beauty. The air, the place, the climate, the greenery, the simplicity of life, the way we could actually feel when festivals were near. Story 88. Burning a mixed compact disc and hoping it would not fail halfway through. Those moments really stuck with you. Story 89. Growing up in the 1990s, we had a magical 10-second window after the dial-up connected, but before anyone picked up the phone to scream, "Get off the internet," that was your only chance to load half a JPEG before the family landline interrupted everything. Then I discovered the *69 redial function and thought I was hacking the matrix. Fast forward to college when I found out my internet service provider had free midnight to 6 a.m. bandwidth. I spent 4 hours downloading a 3-megabyte song like a caveman discovering fire. Kids today will never know the struggle of rationing kilobytes like post-apocalypse supplies. Fun fact. The iconic dial-up sound was actually computers connecting. Anyone else still have PTSD from their mom picking up during a RuneScape session? Story 90. Popping popcorn and sitting on the couch to watch movies that would air on Cartoon Network, Nickelodeon, and Disney, then sprinting to the bathroom or kitchen during commercials. Story 91. All the content before the actual movie when DVDs were popular. First, there was the fast play option, followed by the logos, then the studios. After that, a character would come out to make a cameo, and after 5 to 6 minutes, you would actually start the movie. Story 92. Meeting up with friends on a specific day and time after only having a conversation in school the day before. No texting, nothing. Everyone showed up. Story 93. Blowing into a video game cartridge like it was cardiopulmonary resuscitation for electronics. Hang on, Mario. I'm going to save you. Story 94. You need to wait for almost everything. Nowadays, we live in an instant age. Some things happen too fast, in fact. Story 95. There used to be a time when children would wait to watch a bedtime story on television before going to bed, and that was something special. Now there are so many that it no longer matters. Story 96. Hiding in a cornfield at midnight while playing hide and seek with 10 other kids from the neighborhood as the other group is looking for you. No phone in sight. Story 97. Having to memorize phone numbers. I still remember my childhood best friend's number by heart, but I couldn't tell you my own sister's number now. even if my life depended on it. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.